Yes. We said in the invertebrates, the innate immunity is more primitive than vertebrates. For example, in insects, the exoskeleton, which is made of chitin, form the first barrier to pathogens. Pathogens cannot get in because of this chitin or exoskeleton structure. Also, the digestive system of insects protected by low pH and lysozymes. And we said last time, lysozymes are enzymes that break down or digest the microbial cell walls. So, of course, when the microbial cell wall digested or broken, this pathogen or microbe cannot reproduce inside the infected body. Hemocytes, we say these kind of cells that carry out phagocytosis. Phagocytosis means engulfing the pathogen and destroy it inside the cell. So ingestion and digestion, engulfing and destroying. Hemocytes secretes also antimicrobial peptides, and we say these antimicrobial peptides are chemicals produced by hemocytes. This disrupts the plasma membrane of the bacteria. So this bacteria cannot, which is the pathogen, cannot reproduce inside the insect body. This is a general image about invertebrates. Remember, invertebrates such as insects, they have primitive systems and more simple system than vertebrates. If you go in vertebrates like humans, mammals in general, the immune system is more developed, and we said in our system, our immune system, vertebrate system consists of two main lines. Number one, the innate immune system and the acquired immune system. We say the innate immune system is non-specific, consists of different ways, and these ways of defense. Non-specific means attack any type of pathogen, and it's very important for our life. Number one was the barrier defense. Then we said we have the cellular innate defense, antimicrobial peptides and proteins, inflammatory responses, natural killer cells. Let's go in details. What are the barrier defenses? Very quickly. Here, barrier defenses include, we say, the skin. The skin make a barrier for your body, and the mucus productions or membranes which are cover the inner surfaces of the respiratory system, also found in the urinary system and reproductive tracts. There are mucus for protection. This mucus destroy or kill the pathogens. The mucus in your respiratory system, for example, trap and allows for the removal of microbes. It's trap the microbes which found in the air which enter the body. Many body fluids, including saliva, mucus, and tears. These also destroy the microbes. Okay. Also, the skin has low pH, we say. So there, the pathogens on the skin cannot reproduce and cannot let's say do its activities. Okay. In addition to that, we say the outermost layer of the skin is organ. The outermost layer consists of dead tissue, right? Dead cells. So there, that's why microbes cannot grow on the surface of the skin. In addition to the low pH. Also inside our digestive system, now in our stomach, we have very low pH that avoid growth of microbes, and this is kind also of barrier defense. Barrier defense It's the first line of defense in the body. Then we said, yes, Shabab, we have cellular innate defense. Cellular innate defense. I will back to the board to see. So we finished the barrier defense, which is it? Which is it? Skin. We just say skin, low pH, mucus, and body fluids. These all we call it barrier defense. Now, cellular innate defense. Cellular innate defense, from the name, you can see this non-specific defense done by cells. Done by cells. It's cellular defense. What are the cells that do this kind of defense? Leukocytes, kind of white blood cells. White blood cells. Okay, let's see what are these cells and what they do. Cellular innate defense, kind of white blood cells or leukocytes, which we call it. It engulfs pathogens in the body via phagocytosis, and we explained this last time that if there's a bacteria or something and white blood cell, the white blood cell engulfs this bacteria to inside as a vesicle containing this bacteria. Then lysozymes, this lysozymes, and you know lysozymes are organelles found inside the cell containing enzymes, contains enzymes. These are hydrolytic enzymes. We called it hydrolytic enzymes. These lysosomes fuse with the vesicle containing bacteria like this, and the enzymes start destroying this bacteria, then release the remains outside or use it inside the cell. Okay? Any question about this point? If you have a question, send chat or open your mind, guys.
Here.
Very perfect. Type. Now, okay. White blood cells are different types. What are the cells that do phagocytosis and do not only phagocytosis, they do the cellular innate defense? What are these names of white blood cells? We have different types of cellular leukocytes, such as neutrophils, macrophage, eosinophils, and dendritic cells. These 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of cells, different types of leukocytes or white blood cells. As we said, it's including or it's belong to cellular innate defense, which is kind of innate, means that non-specific cells. These cells engulf and destroy the pathogens, whatever the type of pathogen. Okay, let's see it in details. Neutrophils engulf and destroy the microbes. Macrophage are part of lymphatic system. It's found in the lymph, the macrophage, and are found throughout the body. Also, it works for destroying the pathogens. Eosinophils discharge destructive enzymes. Look, it produces destructive enzymes. What are these destructive enzymes? Enzymes that destroy, as we say, the pathogens. Okay? Dendritic cells. These stimulate development of acquired immunity. If you remember, we said the acquired immunity is cells recognize the pathogen and produce a specific fighters. Okay, produce a specific fighters against this pathogen. That's why the acquired immunity is a specific. Dendritic cells, kind of innate cells, non-specific cells, but it stimulates the acquired immunity. Okay, stimulates the acquired immunity. Okay, but That's it about the cellular innate cells or defense. Now the third way, as we said, back to the slide here, the third type of innate immunity, the third type is antimicrobial, peptide, and proteins. What are these antimicrobial peptides and how it's innate immunity? Let's see. Antimicrobial peptides and proteins, peptides, short proteins or full proteins, function in innate defense by attacking microbes directly or impeding their reproduction, destroy the microbes directly or stops its reproduction. Okay, because you know the pathogens, bacteria, viruses, or whatever, enter the body and start increasing inside. How? It's attack the host cells. What is the host cell? We say the host cell is the cell which the pathogen can affect on. Okay, so let's say the host cell is any cell in the respiratory system or in anywhere. The pathogen enter the host cell and start using its tools to reproduce and increase. Okay, here the peptides and the proteins which we are talking about, which we call it antimicrobial peptides or proteins, attack these microbes and destroy and stop its reproduction. Also, there's very important kind of proteins in the body called interferon. Interferons are very important proteins, provide innate defense against viruses. You know, daily you have hundreds or a large number of different viruses enter your body throughout the air, especially. Okay, throughout the air. These viruses enter your body and stop by interferons. As we said, interferon is one of the first line defense, innate defense. These interferons or proteins destroy the viruses, destroy the coat of the virus, okay, and stop its multiplication and stop its work, in addition to help activate macrophage. What are the macrophage? We just mentioned macrophage, which destroy here. Macrophage, part of lymphatic system, are found throughout the body, and we say these macrophage work in destroying the pathogens. Okay, so interferons, proteins destroy the viruses and stop the viruses and also help activate the macrophage. About 30 proteins make up the complement system, which causes lysis of invading cells and helps trigger inflammation. We have about 30 different types of antimicrobial proteins. We call them complement system. They cause lysis or destroying. They cause destroying the invading pathogens or microbes, invading cells. In addition to trigger the inflammation, these antimicrobial proteins not only destroy the pathogen, it also deliver a message to the other defense way called inflammation. What is the inflammation? Inflammation is inflammatory response is the next innate pathway. What is this inflammatory response? Inflammatory response, which we just said is stimulated by antimicrobial proteins. Inflammatory response here, following any injury in the body, there are cells called mast cells. Remember this name, very important name, mast cells. These cells, once there's injury, they release histamine. I think this name is popular for you, right? Histamine. Mast cells release histamine. What does it do? Look, this histamine promotes changes in blood vessels makes the blood vessels wider. Okay? Why? Why the blood vessels in the injury area supposed to become wider, or which we called it vasodilation? You remember? Vasodilation. Okay? Vasodilation. Vasodilation means the vessels gets wider. Okay? Why? To flow more blood, to the injury area. Okay? To the injury area. Why? Who knows why? Huh?
So, it's like a natural body cleanser, so it cleans out all the infected things, pushes it out with the blood.
How? Look to this image. Yeah, you are correct, but we want how. Now here, for example, we have injury
How many points?
by this splinter. So of course, bacteria and pathogens enter from the injury, right? Because we know that the skin is the first barrier. The injury, it's allow the pathogens to enter or to cross this barrier, right? So here, the inflammatory response works. How? This damaged cells, do you see these damaged cells? Damaged cells. In addition to mast cells, do you see the mast cells in the image? We have mast cells here, and we have damaged cells here. Both damaged cells and mast cells, they release signals, chemicals. We just called it what? Histamine. What we called it? Histamine. Now the mast cells and the histamines, the mast cells which releases histamines and the damaged cells which they release also chemical signals, it causes, number one, we just said, the capillaries or the blood vessels to get wider. Look at this, look at this. You see, it becomes wider. Why wider? We say to allow more blood flow to the capillaries. When it gets wider, so more blood flow toward these vessels, right? These vessels. Why we want more blood flow there? Let's see.
So the body and the brain can process the same way it processed before the injury.
No, this after the injury. If there's injury,
Yeah, I mean, this happens like the nerves become wider. I think vasodilation.
You're talking about hormones which make vessels wider, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked this in before. We said some hormones they cause vasodilation. Yeah, of course. But here, the vasodilation or the vessels gets wider to exactly in the capillaries which are close to the injury to increase the local blood supply. Why we need more blood supply there? We just say this injury allow pathogens to enter, inside. So, and we just mentioned that in the blood we have kind of white blood cells called neutrophils, macrophage, eosinophils, dendritic cells. They destroy and release antimicrobial peptides to destroy this bacteria or pathogen, right?
So I know why it dilates.
Yeah. So here, ya shabab, here the blood flow increase in this area to allow more white blood cells to come close to the injury area because bacteria is there now, okay, and start engulfing phagocytosis the bacteria or the pathogen. Okay, so this is the idea.
I have a question. Can the white blood cells like go through the vessel, or there's an opening for it to come out?
Yes. It gets out through the pores. You know, there are pores found in the capillary. It gets out of the pores to the tissue. This is the surrounding tissue where the bacteria or the pathogen enter and engulf or phagocytosis the pathogens. Okay, so as you see, guys, these different ways of innate immunity, they work together. Okay, the barrier defense was the skin. If there's injury in the skin, we just say Mast cells from inflammatory response. Mast cells release histamines, and these histamines make vasodilation in the capillaries to increase the cellular innate defense, to increase the neutrophils, macrophage, eosinophils, dendritic cells, to increase the flow of blood there, right? And these, remember, these cells, like macrophage and others, they release antimicrobial peptides, such as interferons, to destroy this pathogen and engulf it. Okay, got it? So these different ways of innate defense, they work together. They work together. Okay, as you see in this image. Inflammation can be either local or systemic. Look, now here, in this case, the inflammation only in the injury area, so it's locally. Sometimes the body do systemic. This one in the picture, we called it local because only in the injury place. If the inflammation or inflammatory response occur in all the body, this is called systemic inflammation. Systemic inflammation. Example, fever. Fever is a systemic inflammation. Fever is a response in the body against pathogen. When a pathogen enters the body raises the temperature up, right?
I know,
Why?
Mr.
Yeah, this is kind of defense. This is kind of defense.
Defense.
Yeah.
Because bacteria can't live in extreme temperatures.
Exactly, because these pathogens, which able to invade our bodies, it likes to live in 37 temperature, our body temperature. This is the perfect or the optimum temperature for these pathogens. Fever stops these pathogens activities. Okay, so it's kind of defense. Okay, stop the activity of these pathogens. In addition to the other ways work, the other immunity defenses work. Okay.
So I have a
Fever.
question.
Yes, Rosan.
Do whales get fever or do they get sick?
They get sick, of course. But if you took yes.
Like if they have bacteria inside their body, they have like a really high temperature in their body. So how do they, like, how doesn't the temperature kill the bacteria?
Okay, I will tell you something important. Now, whales, like any mammal, okay, it has a specific body temperature. Okay, so of course there are pathogens attack its bodies, and it has like this way of defense techniques. Okay, such as we just say the cells or the proteins or peptides which attack the pathogens, and also it has a change of temperature to stop the activity of the pathogens. But of course, the effect of fever on their body is not like the effect of fevers on your body as a human. Okay, but in general, all vertebrates, or sorry, mammals, they have this technique of systemic inflammatory response triggered by pathogens released by macrophages and toxins from pathogens. So when the pathogen enter, also the pathogen release toxins, right? Such as bacteria release toxins. These toxins trigger the body to make systemic inflammatory response, which is to make a fever or raising its temperature. But there's a problem here. There's a case called septic shock. Septic shock is a life-threatening condition caused by overwhelming inflammatory response. If there's excessive systemic inflammatory response, excessive fever, for example, lead to septic shock. I want you to read more about septic shock and to make a report about it. Okay? We have 2 reports today. We have 1 more left. But because the time, we have only 6 minutes left. Let's go to the next part.
Mister, how long do you want these reports to be?
Again,
How long do you want the reports to be?
short report, 1 page only, half page.
1 page only?
Yeah, 1 page or half page, just general
2
information.
paragraphs.
Yeah, yeah, paragraph about this case. Okay, inflammatory response. Inflammatory response, we say caused by mast cells or damaged cells, right? Damaged cells in the injury area, right? In the injury area. And we said also we have what? Systemic inflammatory response, right? Such as fever, right? Example, what we just said, fever, right? Fever is kind of inflammatory response. This is also kind of innate immune system. It stops the activity of the pathogens. The next one is the natural killer cells. What are the natural killer cells? Let's see. Natural killer cells. Now, in the beginning, you have to know, and you know, if you remember, we said this before, that all body cells, except red blood cells, by the way, they have kind of proteins on its surface. This kind of protein on the surface called MHC. MHC. There are 2 classes of MHC. Class 1, class 2. What is MHC? Major Histocompatibility Complex. This kind of protein, which found on the surface of every cell in your body except red blood cells. Who knows why? Why red blood cells do not have this MHC on its surface?
I don't know, Mister. Give us a hint.
Fine, find it out, okay? Search about it. And add it to the report. MHC, we just said, is a complex protein found on the surface of every cell. There are 2 classes of this protein, class 1, class 2. Class 1 found on their surface. Class 2 MHC protein molecules are found on specialized cells only. Okay? Class 2 MHC proteins found on specialized cells. Now, these proteins found on the surface of the cells used for communication between cells. Okay, so for example, your immune system, your immune system can identify your body cells by reading or by seeing this MHC proteins. Okay, but for example here, cancerous or infected cells which they have pathogens inside it. Okay, they are no longer express this MHC protein on its surface. Means that if the cell is cancerous cell or infected cell like this, there's no MHC expressed on the surface. This MHC, if it's infected or cancerous cell, no MHC on the surface. So in this way, there are cells called natural cells, NK, natural killer cells. These cells kill any cell in the body has no MHC protein except red blood cells, as we said. Okay, again, the natural killer cells destroy the infected cells or the cancerous cells which are no longer express MHC protein on the surface. Okay, guys, is it clear? Some pathogens, look, for example, now the bacteria has MHC different than your body MHC, right? So that's how your immune system recognize this is pathogen. This is pathogen, so the natural killer destroy it. Got it? Some pathogens avoid destruction by modifying their surface to prevent recognition or by resisting breakdown following phagocytosis. Oh, this is dangerous, right? If the pathogen able to modify their proteins on the surface so that your killer cells in the body or your immune system cannot recognize these cells. Example
Sir,
of
can you go to the previous slide?
just because of time, I would say something. Example of bacteria able to do that is TB bacteria. Tuberculosis kind of disease attack your respiratory system caused by bacteria able to modify its this protein. Yes, this previous.
Mister, all red blood cells don't have. You said that they don't have MHC in their protein, and why?
Yes,
right? Is it because they don't have a nucleus?
All blood cells do not have a class 1 MHC.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. Is it because red blood cells don't have a nucleus? That's why they don't have MHC?
Yeah, excellent. Yes. Okay.
I got it.
Because of time,
So
guys, thank you for joining.
Right?
Time's over.